So I'm walking the strip the other day during the multiplier of days that were going on, just moving along the strip, soaking in the vibes that you get when you walk in the Vegas Strip. And I was over by Harris in the promenade area. And I looked at Mirage, just, because it's still crazy to believe that the Mirage is gone and it's about to be, converted to something new. But then all of a sudden, Venetian, which is right there in that area, just started coming over my spirit. And it was just like, why don't we talk about Venetian? We all know that Venetian is a luxurious hotel, top 3 hotel, some people's favorite hotel. Regardless of what you may say, it's ranked up in the top 5, but it's top 3 to me. But I was like, why don't we talk about Venetian as much, And there's a number of reasons behind it, but today I wanted to make this video so we can talk about it, so that when you got those emails that's been stuck at the bottom of your inbox, but you need to bring it to the top of the list. I feel like that's what Venetian needs. Venetian needs some love. Venetian needs more attention, because I feel like it's something we just don't appreciate like we should. So the first thing I want to talk about is when we go to Vegas and we look at hotels, one thing that we always take into account is the location. And the point for location, based on my years of experience with working with people doing consultations and just my streams and engagement with the community, typically the standard staying point for people, because folks like to walk the strip, is Park MGM. Maybe some may extend to New York. So we'll say New York on the south end. And then as you're moving toward the north end, we say Palazzo, which is the resort at Venetian. So if we've got the Venetian in our landscape of places we would stay, why isn't it talked about as much? And I know that location isn't a reason people don't stay at Venetian. And while I was going through the property doing this video, there was a couple of things I did think about. When you're staying at Venetian, we walk out the front door, you've got to go out the front entrance, walk around to the side, and then go up to where the lights are before you can actually maneuver. Or from the second level, you got to go through the canal shops and then go through that little walkway to get down to the strip. So I don't know how much of an inconvenience that might be to people, but I said maybe this is something that would hinder people from staying here, trying to be unbiased. I was thinking about that. But then I was like, is it really that serious? Because when you look at properties like Aria, which I love, by the way, you got to walk out of Aria, then you got to walk around the walkway through the crystal shops. And granted, that does put you center strip. Is it still that big of a difference to walk from Aria to the strip and then from Venetian's front entrance to the strip or through the canal shops? It was just something I thought about, which is, again, why we're making this video, because I want to talk about it. We got to show them some love. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but if it is a big deal to you, comment, let me know, because maybe that part of the location may not be convenient for some. So the next thing I thought about was how we love rooms or suites that are convenient. And so if you've done a consultation with me, if we've talked about planning trips to Vegas, or if we've just had discussions about hotels in general, but I always say that it doesn't matter what the occasion is. Venetian is an all-suite resort. So you got an all-suite resort. That's a top 3 resort on the Las Vegas Strip, and to some maybe in all of Las Vegas that we don't talk about as much. But their base room started 650 square feet for a king. Now, it doesn't matter why you're going to Vegas. You could be going on a family trip, even though I do not preach people going to Vegas with kids, but it's 2025 and it is what it is. But you got 650 square feet. You got a sunken living room. If you're going for a bachelor or bachelorette party, all my people who I've done consultations with and I've talked about for bachelor and bachelorette parties, I've always praised how this is a phenomenal property for bachelor or bachelorettes, because at minimum you get 2 beds. You've got a king bed if you want it in the bedroom area, and then in the sunken living room area you get a pull-out couch. If you need 3 beds, because it's very, very rare that you can find one suite with 3 beds without having to get a rollaway bed, which most people really don't want to pay for, or it's not convenient, because they don't like the rollaway bed size, you can get a 2-queen room or a 2-queen suite, and then you have the 3rd bed for pull-out couch, which I've been a part of bachelor parties. It is super clutch. Phenomenal suite. It doesn't matter what the occasion is, and it's not many properties you can say that. There's a few, but not many you can say that it is a one-size-fits-all, because the fact that you get this in a base suite, you don't have to upgrade or do a $20 tip or any of that. This is just standard in your base suite. That's a steal, and I know sometimes because this is a luxury property, that price can be a deterring factor for some people, but we're talking about a 5-star property, and they just remodeled these suites, which I actually like. I know some people are indifferent about it for certain little features and amenities, but you can't please everybody, so that's not a surprise to me at all. But overall, I really like the remodel. They've cleaned up a lot, and they've actually added some features. So if you get a resort that you can get all of this regardless of the occasion, because, you know, as I was saying, if you want to impress someone, you know, it's a beautiful suite, in and out, everything you can need, soak-in tub, walk-in shower, water closet, spacious bedroom area. You can be romantic and go down in the sunken living room and have dinner in the sunken living room and then come back to the bedroom. Why aren't we talking about it? You know, why don't we pitch this more? Now, I can speak to that because one thing that matters to a lot of people is the rewards program. And Caesars, especially for myself, I know I've talked a lot this year, especially the last year, but more so this year, about the multipliers and how hitting the multipliers is easier for you to level up, so you don't have to pay resort fees, because resort fees are becoming dreaded in Las Vegas. I'm fully aware of that, and I've been on part to try to help people eliminate or not have to pay resort fees. But they're also more convenient because there's other Caesars properties. And then same thing with MGM. MGM to most have the best hotel portfolio of a property in Las Vegas. They love the rooms, they love the suites at the different hotels, and their rewards program to some people is convenient because there are MGM properties near them. So that makes Venetian a victim of the independent rewards program. And it reminded me, as I was walking through the property, a lot of the Cosmopolitan, which a lot of you know is still my favorite hotel in Vegas. I still consider the best hotel in Vegas. In a lot of regards, that resort is comparable to Venetian, because the one thing that people love is suites and love luxury and love quality. But when you compare what identity was at the Cosmopolitan to what Venetian Rewards is at Venetian, it's very, very similar, especially with the point scale, as we'll talk about here. Because even without a multiplier, if you do a lot of gambling, because there's a lot of slots players in this community, their benefits are very, very, very beneficial. So let's go ahead and talk about it, because on the Caesar side, we've done the math, and it's 1 tier credit for every $5 that you wager. When I did a recent test at MGM for MGM Rewards, it's 1 tier credit for every $3 that you wager. When you look over here at Venetian Rewards, it's 1 tier credit for every $4 on slots. So if you really just did it on the math scale, you need 15,000 tier credits to get to diamond on the Caesar side. But with Ruby on Venetian Rewards, you need 20,000 tier credits. So you would level up faster here than you would on the MGM Rewards side for a property that's better than majority of the properties on the Caesars or the MGM side. I know a lot of people consider price when it comes to staying here because the rates can be expensive. Again, this is a 5-star property, but when you just look at it on the gambling aspect, why wouldn't you want to gamble here if they're going to give you benefits like that? Especially if you play the slots. People are going to play slots. It doesn't matter what the property is. People love winning slots, and it seems like a lot of people on the slot side have been struggling with the popular hotels. So if you consider the independent property with all of these benefits, it can be very rewarding, because 20,000 tier credits, if you visit a few times a year, especially for the heavy slot players, could be very beneficial. Not only for the slot players, my table game players, I tell y'all all the time, it's like impossible to know how many tier credits you get for the wager. And it's pretty similar here, but at least they tell you you'll get 2 tier credits for your average bet and length of play, because table games is always based on length of play and your average bet, but it's never broken down to how many tier credits you'll get based on whatever the bet is and based on what the length of play is. And typically the minimums at Venetian are $25, so you've got to factor in 25 if you play for an hour times 2 tier credits. You know, that could be something beneficial. And I say it reminds me so much of identity, because identity, you needed 20,000 tier credits to have your resort fees waived. I believe theirs was 1 tier credit for every $5 spent on hotel, and then at Venetian it's 2 tier credits for every $1 spent on hotel and dining, etc., etc. So if you stay here and play here and dine here and enjoy a lot, it could be very, very beneficial from the reward side of the program. So for those who may be interested or are soaking in how much we just seem to overlook this great property, just from the reward standpoint, especially if you want to compare it to MGM Rewards, something you might want to consider long term, because you could definitely level up fast here compared to other places. Now, with it being an independent property, obviously you will want something to sway you. So between the location not being too out of the way that I think we may overlook, the benefits of the rewards program, let's just admire the property itself, because to many people, Venetian is one of the best themed hotels in all of Las Vegas, especially on the Las Vegas Strip, based off of the property in Venice, Italy. And as soon as you look at it from the outside, you can just immediately tell that it was a very well designed property. It's very eye appealing. They did very well, and you can't miss the gondola. That's something that even to this day, as long as people have been going to Vegas, Some people have never been on the gondola ride or done the gondola ride, and that includes myself. I've never been on the gondola ride, but again, that's an experience that you can have just staying at the resort. And that's another thing that I want to speak on that I think we forget a lot about. This is one of those resorts where you could literally spend the entire day at the resort and have a good time. There's so many different things to do. With the design of the property, you can tell that it is true luxury inside and out. Which again is something, why wouldn't you want to experience that if you haven't experienced that already? Or if we know how nice it is, why don't we experience this luxury more, you know? And as I was walking through the property, I realized how many great experiences I've had at the Venetian. I've stayed there various times in various suites. And the first video on this channel that even hit 100,000 views was my room tour of the King Suite here at Venetian. So it just, as I was walking through, it made me sit back and think about, like, it's crazy how we can just underappreciate things just because they're here. And this is one of those properties that need to be appreciated more. Now, you've got a luxury property, you got good rewards, you got a good location. But what else? You know, what else makes the Venetian special? On top of that, let's talk about the restaurants. Because of course, if you're going to stay here, you got to eat. And we know that there is no lack of dining options. One of the most popular places that people like here at Venetian is Black Tap, the burger spot. Between the good burgers and the crazy shakes, that's something that draws a lot of people's attention. Mott 32 is a very popular restaurant as well here at Venetian. And then one of the signature steakhouses is Cut. A lot of people who are doing, you know, bachelor parties or bachelorette parties or special events love to go to Cut for their dining experience. And so then you have all of those restaurants, just to name a few. I'm not gonna say all, but just to name a few. But on top of the restaurants, then you have the restaurants that also bring in entertainment, which is the next segue to Venetian. There's entertainment here. I think we sleep on that too, because when you combine dining into entertainment, that's a 2-in-1. A lot of people know about Lavo, Italian restaurant. Now, granted, Lavo is inside of the Palazzo that's still connected to the Venetian. You can access that just by walking through the walkway. You don't even have to go outside to the strip. You can eat and dine there. And then in the winter times, that's a brunch party. It's a very popular place that people like to go and hang out and have brunch. So you have good food and you can party in the same spot. A lot of people know about Tao, the Asian bistro, so you can get a lot of different good food. A lot of people like the sushi here. It gives you that calm, cool vibe, elegant feel. But Tao also is one of the top beach clubs in Las Vegas and one of the popular nightclubs. So you've got a restaurant here at the Venetian where you can eat good food. And you can also go to a day party. You can also go to a nightclub. So again, more benefits from a luxurious property without even have to leave. And how many hotels, regardless of their tier, can we even say about that in Las Vegas? You know, we got this right here and we just take it for granted, because I know a lot of you, including myself, come and party at Tao, whether it's the beach club or the nightclub. A number of you like Tao restaurant, but are you actually staying here? Think about it. Well, imagine staying here, having those experiences. Or when was the last time you stayed here and did you have that full experience? And while we're on the topic of restaurants, we know about the canal shots. I'm not gonna go too much into that, but if you want to do some shopping, some exploring while you're at your resort and hotel, again, you don't even have to leave. With a variety of different options, variety of price ranges. They've even got Rock House up there, which is like a sports bar. So if you want to watch some games or play some beer pong or watch some other sporting events, have a couple drinks at a casual place, you've also got that at your resort. It's just, there's so much here at the Venetian that I feel like isn't spoke on or doesn't get enough recognition, or we know about but we don't talk about again because it's an independent property. I wanted to make this video again just to show Venetian some love and to have a conversation with y'all and get y'all opinion. Do you think we really underappreciate the Venetian? Do you think we overlook it? Is it something we see and just keep passing by? We ignore it a lot? You agree or disagree? If you think so, tell me why in the comments. Why do you think so? If you don't think that it's undervalued or ignored and it's a place that you actually like, comment your thoughts and tell me what makes you love it so much. And if it's a place that you just wouldn't stay at, I would love to get your feedback on that as well. Y'all share y'all feedback. Let me know y'all thoughts on good old Venetian. Where will Venetian rank on your top 5 list too? Let me know about that as well. But that's going to do it for this video. If you all enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll holla at y'all in the next video.
Hey, what up, say? One time for the hometown, I got love for it, that's real. 2 times for the haters, man, cause I notice how this shit feel. 3 times for my family, dog, cause this shit done paid our bills. And I get 4 times my net worth from a year ago with no deals. Did it all by myself.